What's up, guys? Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal has been announced, so that fight's going to be very interesting to watch. Leon Edwards is definitely an underrated character when it comes to fighting in the UFC, and how they've been promoting him so far is kind of underhanded, and it seems like Dana doesn't want him to do good in the sport of MMA because I don't know, Dana doesn't dislike Leon Edwards. Actually, I take that back. It's all business at the end of the day. But I just don't understand why he hasn't been actually. But then it is actually Dana, because how come he hasn't been given a title shot? How come he hasn't been pushed by the UFC PR machine? So no, actually it is Dana, because he hasn't been pushed as much as he should be, because he's on a 10-fight winning streak right now. 10-fight winning streak, and you still haven't got a title shot. And the man that controls who gets the title shot is Dana White, and he doesn't get the title shot, and he knows he deserves it. I mean, he arguably deserves it more than Colby Covington, because what has Colby Covington done? He fought Tyron Woodley after he lost to Usman, right? He beat Tyron Woodley, and he beat someone, maybe he beat an extra person, but he didn't really get on a win streak. And I get it, like, people want to watch the Usman and Covington 2 fight because the first fight was very, very competitive, and then there's the history. There's the history between, and then there's the history. What was I talking about? I had to go kill a fly, but and then there's the history between Leon and Usman, because Usman has beaten Leon Edwards before, but that was a long time ago. Leon's come on a win streak now, so he kind of deserves the opportunity to get that rematch. So, but then I get it, it's also the entertainment aspect. The UFC is a business, and things are always going to be done in the way that we can make the most amount of money, and Leon is not really a draw the same way that Covington is a draw. It seems like the fans really got behind Covington and demanded that title shot for him because they wanted to see an exciting fight, and it's really the fans that made this possible. If you really think about it, the fans made this possible because they called on the UFC to make this fight, and Dana White delivered, and actually that's a good thing. I praise Dana White for making the fights that we want to see, and now, going back to the Edwards and Masvidal fight, Masvidal's lost his last 2 fights with Usman. He got knocked out in the second fight. In the first fight, he got out-wrestled, out-grappled, and then out-struck a little bit here and there, because coming into the fight, Jorge Masvidal had a short training camp, so he wasn't really in shape for that fight in the same way that it would be if he had a full training camp. And that was his kind of built-in excuse for taking the fight, and he already had that built-in excuse, and he kind of knew that he could have that crutch because everybody knows, he had that fight on 5 or whatever day notice he had it on, and then he can use that excuse if he loses the fight. And then if he wins the fight, then he gets propelled to stardom and blah, 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 and what's not, right? So it was a win-win situation for Masvidal coming into the first fight with Usman. But the second fight, there was no more excuses because you got the training camp that you asked for, and you have no excuses now. So if you lose the fight, then you lost to the better man, whatever. So Usman is definitely the best right now. He's kind of already delivered that, and he beat Usman, he beat Covington, he beat Masvidal. He's defending his title a couple times now. So, and he's the dominant champion, and he's fighting a guy he already beat. But the fight was very close. Covington and Usman was 2-2 going into the 4th round. So, considering all of that, the landscape of the division is heating up very well right now. Usman and Covington fighting again. Edwards and Masvidal are going to be fighting. And then the winner gets a title shot. I mean, I don't know how to really explain that, because there's people in the division that deserve the title shot more than Masvidal. Because if Masvidal beats Leon Edwards, does he get a title shot? I mean, that's kind of a hard question because he just lost the champ, and then that's one win, and then you get a title shot? I mean, damn, like that doesn't seem very fair to the other guys in the division. Like Vicente Luque has been putting that work in, Gilbert Burns is coming back, putting the work in again. I think Gilbert Burns needs a couple more fights maybe to get in that title contention. Masvidal, if he wins the fight with Edwards, I don't think that's a title shot. But I think if Edwards wins the Masvidal fight, it should be a title shot. Because come on, like how much more does the guy need? And I think beating Masvidal is gonna give Leon Edwards the legitimacy that he deserves. Even though he already deserves that legitimacy, the lack of character and personality behind Edwards is the reason why he's not getting the big fights. So that's another thing that we gotta really consider when we look at Edwards as a fighter and as a draw. He's not really a draw. Like, look at his Instagram followers, look at his personality and the way he sells fights. He doesn't talk shit, and he doesn't get a lot of finishes as well. So that's another thing we gotta think about. The fact that he's not able to get those finishes, that's not gonna establish a big fan base for him, and stuff like that. Things that he really has to work on is his personality and Instagram followers. But at the same time, if he can beat Masvidal, then that's going to bring him a lot closer to the title shot, in my opinion, because it's kind of undeniable at this point. Like, you can't deny Edwards the title shot any longer. If he goes ahead and finishes Masvidal, you think they're not going to give him a title shot? You think that the UFC is not going to give Edwards a title shot if he goes out there and finishes Jorge Masvidal? I think that's a title shot right after Covington. So depends on who wins the Covington and Usman fight. That's going to be an interesting fight because the first fight was close. Going into the fifth, it was 2-2. So we don't really know how that fight's going to go because it's 2-2 going into the fifth. Usman finished it and, championship mentality, championship heart, finished the fight, put all doubt out, broke his jaw. So I think Usman is definitely the favorite coming into this fight, but I think the odds are probably pretty close. It's a pick'em fight, really, but Usman's shown to differentiate himself from the rest, so maybe he should get a little bit of a higher, chance of winning. A little bit of give him the slight edge in terms of the betting odds. I think he's proven that, and he deserves that. He shouldn't be an underdog anymore in any of his fights. But honestly, who deserves the next title shot? Maybe Vicente Luque is going to fight Nate Diaz. That's what we've been hearing about the UFC brass right now. He's going to be fighting Nate Diaz, maybe. I don't know if that fight really makes a lot of sense because Nate Diaz isn't really in the top 5, and beating Nate Diaz shouldn't really give you a title shot. But it's a fun fight, for the fans, and for me, I think it's a really fun fight. I think that's a fun fight, and Burns, I think Burns should fight. He's already fought Stephen Thompson. That was a boring fight. It was a chess match, but it was a chess match, but it wasn't a fun fight, it's a boring fight. So who should Gilbert Burns fight next? It's kind of tough to say, I would like to see him fight Vicente Luque, and even though that's not something that Gilbert Burns is comfortable with, so that's not going to happen. I guess, I don't know. Who should Burns fight next? That's a tough fight. Maybe he could fight the winner of Edwards and Masvidal, but who should he fight as of right now? Give him someone in the top 10. Give him someone in the top 10 outside of the top 5. Just find an opponent. I'm sure they find an opponent for him. But they have to give him someone that makes sense, someone that has the caliber, someone that has a little bit of a win streak coming in. I don't want to see Burns fighting some guy on a 3-fight losing streak. I just don't. I don't see that. I don't want to see that. Maybe Rafael dos Anjos. He's fighting at 155 right now, right? He was trying to rematch Islam Makhachev at 155. I don't know. Fun fights. There's a lot of fun fights going on in the welterweight division, but Leon Edwards and Masvidal's announced. So, who do I think is gonna win that fight? Leon Edwards. It's a tough fight actually because the stand up is pretty close. It's not like. Sorry guys. Sorry about that. But it's not like Masvidal is just going to knock Edwards out and Edwards is going to knock Masvidal out. I think the key to this fight is the pace and really trying to keep the pressure on Masvidal, maybe trying to take him down and give him the threat of takedowns. But Leon Edwards isn't really a versatile wrestler. He's really a good grappler and a good fighter. But wrestling isn't his bread and butter. His bread and butter is striking. So maybe this could be a full stand-up war, you know. And Masvidal is definitely a good, competent fighter, and he fought for the title. He just got knocked out by the champ. You know, the champ is in a different, you know, stratosphere right now. So I mean, it's a fun fight. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I don't really have a prediction right now. I mean, I want Leon Edwards to win the fight. You know, considering all of the history that those two have, this fight is long overdue. I believe this fight should have been made a long time ago, and I don't think he should have fought for the title just yet. You know, he fought Darren Till, and he beat Ben Askren, and he beat, is that a 2-fight winning streak? I mean, that's not, you know, I mean, I get it. You know, he beat Nate Diaz. Okay, I mean, Nate Diaz isn't really a top elite fighter at welterweight. He's a fun fighter. He's interesting, very entertaining. He's a crowd pleaser. I mean, I like watching Nate Diaz. He's very entertaining, but he's not a top contender for the title. And I'm just telling you guys what it is, and you guys know he's not a top contender. He's a fun fighter, interesting fighter, but he's not top 5, not even a contender. All I considered, you know, this fight's interesting. I mean, I don't know if this is a dangerous fight for Leon Edwards. You guys think he's just gonna go out there and just knock Masvidal out? No. I think he's the favorite, but I don't think he's gonna just go out there and dog walk Masvidal. You guys are out of control. Masvidal's very, very slick on the ground. You know, he submitted Michael Chiesa with a Darce choke. So stop it, man. If Edwards tries to take Masvidal down, he's in trouble on the ground, because Masvidal's been training American Top Team, so Masvidal's no joke. Guys, I mean, I don't think you guys understand how the fight. If people are saying Masvidal's just gonna go out there and get knocked out and get submitted, first of all, Leon Edwards is not submitting Masvidal. That's just not gonna happen, flat out. He's not submitting Masvidal. Is he knocking him out? Debatable. You know, it could happen. I mean, Edwards is in some prolific BJJ black belt. He's good on the ground. You know, he's competent on the ground. He knows what he's doing, but he's not some world champion, you know, and stuff like that. So he's not going to submit Masvidal. Maybe he'll hurt him and finish him. I can see that happening, you know, with those elbows from the clinch, and he's very, very versatile over there. Maybe, you know, and Masvidal's been in some wars, and he's been knocked out before by Usman, and he's been in a few wars. The way he got knocked out in his last fight. So all of those things may be plaguing him a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe Leon Edwards can go with the striking and wrestling approach and just keeping pressure. But Masvidal's training with elite world-class wrestlers in American Top Team, so I don't think he's fazed by Edwards at all. I don't think Masvidal's scared of Edwards. It's about money. It's about status, and it's about who can get me closer to the title. And I think this is a good way for him to get back into title contention. You know, I don't think he deserves a title shot right after Edwards. If he beats him, it depends on how he beats him, though. If he finishes him in the first round with emphatic victory, like, oh my God, then, you know, maybe we want to see it again with Usman. I mean, if he finishes him in prolific fashion, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a change. It's going to be the same thing. He has to get a few more wins than one win, but it depends on how he wins. And does it make sense if he gets one win, man? I don't know, man. I just don't think he gets a title shot if he beats Edwards. But it's a step back toward the title shot. So it's like a couple steps. Maybe he needs to fight Burns. If he beats Burns after Edwards and knocks him off, and then beats Vicente Luque and knocks him out, undisputed, he gets a title shot. He beats those guys in that order, or it doesn't matter in that order. If he knocks out and destroys Edwards, and he knocks out and destroys Burns and Luque, he's undeniable. He's getting a title shot. He is undeniable getting a title shot. But in Edwards' case, if he's able to finish Masvidal, then he's undeniable. He's getting a title shot. But Masvidal's route back to a title shot is a lot more nuanced and harder because he's fought the champ twice. And it also depends on who wins the fight with Covington and Usman, because the Usman and Covington fight, is in November, and this fight is in December. The Masvidal and Edwards fight, that's already been booked. It's announced. So December and November. So the winner of this fight fights the winner of Covington and Usman. That makes sense. Covington could beat Usman. It's not. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed in life, bro. Like, Usman could lose this fight. It's a possibility because the last fight was very competitive. I believe that Usman was coming into the fight with a broken nose, some injuries, and stuff like that. But I don't think any fighter comes into fights fully healthy. Like, people break down their bodies in the gym every day. So when you're breaking down your hardware like that every time, consistently over time, and your body is just eroding, you're not gonna be injury free every fight. It's just not. That's not gonna happen unless you. Unless you're really taking that time to rest and really looking after your recovery, and you don't drink and you don't do that many, you don't have wars in sparring, and you're a very smart fighter in the octagon, then yeah, you will last a long time. You're gonna last a long time. You will last a legitimately long time. But people like Cerrone and all of these other fighters that have really just eroded over time and just put in that work and really just pushed their body to the limit and been in so many wars and just put it all out there, put their heart on the line every single time. It's not a smart way to fight, you know. Covington's a smart fighter. He's not been in too many wars. Usman's a smart fighter. Nate Diaz been in a lot of wars, and you kind of can tell, you know, people like Brendan Schaub, he's been knocked out multiple times, CTE, you know, so these are things you got to consider when MMA is involved. It's the most brutal sport there is. To be honest, I would say boxing is a bit more brutal because with MMA, you can actually wrestle and try to clinch and take the person down if you're hurt, and then maybe you can work your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you know, so you have that crutch and you can just hold on to them and just hold on to that underhook and just take them down with double underhooks. But it's not. It's you know, it's brutal, man. And boxing is more brutal though. So yeah, man, I enjoyed this talk. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate all of you guys, man. I'm out.